It's all good, yeah.
So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sarah Desan, and I'm the Executive Director with the Cfa Society Pakistan. Welcome to this webinar on Cfa program and the career guidance session. Let me begin with the housekeeping rules for this session. Please keep your videos turned off and your mics also. Today's session is scheduled for 1.5 hours. And I request all of you to please type in your questions that you may have in the chat box, and your questions will be taken at the end of the session. But we encourage you to keep asking questions as the session goes along. The session will be recorded and will be posted on our website. And in the end, we'd like you to share the feedback of our session with you. Just briefly, I'd like to introduce CFA Institute and CFA Society to you. So CFA Institute takes the well-known CFA exams, and it's a global not-for-profit association. And it is present in more than 160 societies. Overall, there are 170,000 charter holders across the world. And we have over 600 affiliated universities across the world. So CFA Institute is based out of USA, and CFA Society Pakistan is one of the 160 societies which work with CFA Institute. So we were established in 2002. Today we are a 400 plus membership body, and we do a lot of things, some for our members and some to develop future professionals, because of which we are here today with you. So once you become our member, once you complete your CFA exam and you've done your 4 years of experience, then you become a CFA charter holder, and that's when you are eligible to join a society. And once you do that, there are various things that we offer you, starting from industry events to academic events to employer outreach. Some of the things that I want to highlight today is the things that we do for the universities. So there's a university affiliation program for all the faculty who are with us today, that you can become part of the affiliation program, and then you are eligible to, your students are eligible for scholarships. And you of course have access to all the curriculum that is available to our students. In terms of developing future professionals, which is of more of interest to our student body here today, we do a research challenge, and that is run worldwide, and universities collaborate in all over the globe, and the winning team from Pakistan goes into a regional final, and then the regional team, whoever wants, goes into a global final in New York. The idea behind it is to help you assess how to do investment analysis, as our August guests will tell you shortly. We also run an ethics challenge, and last year our regional sub-regional finals were won by a local university in Pakistan. So we highly encourage all of you to please look into and follow us on social media, and we were available on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and so on and so forth, and Instagram. So do connect with us to see when these challenges are being launched. And now I would hand over to Florence Wong, who's the University Director of Relations with CF Institute, and she will guide you through the CFA program. Over to you, Florence.
Thank you, Sawad. Let me share my slide. Okay, so in the following around 15 to 20 minutes, I will share with you what is the CFA program, the career prospect of Cfa Charter holders, the new CBT computer-based testing, and the new enrollment requirements. So let's start. So what is the CFA program? It's a professional credential for investment professionals who are responsible for making investment decisions. The CFA program bridges industry practice, investment theory, and ethical and professional standards to provide investment analysis and portfolio management skills. It's known as the global gold standard of investment program. So in these slides, provide an overview of the CFA program benefits. The CFA Charter is viewed as a mark of distinction. It provides a strong ethical foundation, which have been at the core of the program since the first exam was given in 1963. And you can really think about it as a global passport. So no matter where you are in the world, whether it's across Asia or in different regions of the world, you have the credential that's recognized by finance employers. There's some technical issue. Wait. So can you hear me better now?
Florence, I can. Maybe we can wait for a couple of comments from the chat. Yeah, it's a lot better.
Okay. I was talking about, sorry about the technical issue. So I'll talk about the global passport. So no matter where in the world, whether it's across Asia or in different regions of the world, you have the credential that is recognized by finance employers. And to ensure our curriculum is grounded in practice, we engage with practicing CFA charter holders from around the world. The Financial Times has also called the CFA credential the industry benchmark, because the program is built around a robust curriculum that is practice-driven. I also want to highlight that the network you gain is one of the most valuable benefits you will receive. As Sawat mentioned, we have 159 local societies around the world that represent and support the local network of investment professionals. So of course, CFA Society Pakistan is one of those. You will also gain access to our suite of member resources and tools, help you to navigate an ever-changing landscape. You can browse jobs listing in our career center, explore
Apologies for the interruption. Florence will join us back shortly. Meanwhile, what she was telling you about is that the CFA Charter is, of course, of. Are you back, Florence? Can you, Florence? You're muted. Florence, you're muted.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll continue with the benefit of the CFA Charter. We are talking about the local network. We have CFA Society Pakistan to support our local investment professional, and you will also gain access to a suite of member resources and tools which help you to navigate the career landscape. And you can also browse a job listing in our career center and explore related career content. Another thing that I would like to highlight is that the CFA program is a generous program. So it is a very deep and broad coverage of the curriculum, which prepare you for many different job roles. So you actually broaden your options by taking the CFA program earlier in your career. Let's move on to talk about the exam itself. So the CFA program is a self-study 3-level program, and each of the 3 exams covers a full range of topics, but with a different focus. So at level 1, the focus is on the investment tools. It covers all the different securities, economics, quantitative methods, and how to read financial statements, and of course, corporate finance. The level 1 exam focuses on the candidate's knowledge and comprehension. At level 2, the focus is a deep dive into valuation, taking the securities like stocks, bonds, derivatives, and alternative asset classes such as commodities or real estate, and answer the question, how do people value the price of these individual securities? The level 2 exam requires candidates to apply and analyze. And level 3 is all about portfolio analysis. How do you put together and manage portfolio in order to hit the goals of the client with the risk constraints that are set by the client? And that's really the key at level 3. So to bring it all together, taking your knowledge of the tools and valuation and putting it into an optimized portfolio. The level 3 exam calls on candidates to synthesize and evaluate. And the core of the program and the exams across all 3 levels is ethics and professional standards. As you can see in the slides in green, you will learn best practice for ethical professional behavior, specifically applied to situations you will encounter in different investment and financial settings. This helps ensure that charter holders serve as active advocates of the integrity of the investment industry, where reputation is very important, and trust, and transparency, and investor protections are really critical. So for the curriculum, each year we bring in several innovations, and very recently we brought in machine learning and big data analytics. For instance, we've also been seeing a trend with more and more practitioners incorporating ESG consideration into their decision-making process. So we introduced a new reading that talks about the different aspects of evaluating corporate governance policies and procedures, and of course, ESG integration. Okay, let's move on to the path to become a CFA charter holder. So of course, you need to pass all 3 levels of the exams, and you also need to meet the work experience requirement, which is to acquire 4,000 hours of qualified professional working experience, which really means doing work that's related to the investment management process. And you also need to submit your professional references and then apply to become a CFA Institute member. So ultimately, you complete all these steps and sign a professional conduct statement. You then earn the CFA Charter and able to use these 3 letters behind your name. So this is a really common question that candidates ask, the most common question, the key to CFA program success. I'm sure the speakers later will share with you more tips on this. But officially, we tell our candidates, on average, successful candidates will spend about 300 hours studying for each level. When you become a candidate, you receive all the study materials that you need to pass the exam. The CFA curriculum is the only source of materials for exam writers to create questions. And you should also take advantage of the study tools which are online. We call that the CFA Learning Ecosystem. So this is a screenshot of the learning ecosystem, which consolidate the curriculum and study tools into an integrated platform. It houses the entire curriculum, which include practice questions, mock exam, built-in study planners, highlighting, flashcards, and more other tools just to make sure we can help and enhance candidates' learning experience with this platform. And it also includes a dashboard to check progress and performance. And this is web-based application, so it can be compatible with all mobile device. Really, it's help to enhance your experience and to provide a personalized learning based on your behavior and response and feedback to the system. And of course, after you register, you will also be able to get access to these candidate resources. This is a one-stop shop to help you prepare for the exam with the candidate resource page. Okay, let's move on to talk about what you can do with the charter. In terms of the jobs actually done by charter holders, you can see here's a quick slide that shows you what they do. On the left, you can see we have a very healthy mix of people who do equities, fixed income, private equity, and so on. So the major asset class are very well represented by our member base. And in terms of job roles on the right, the number one job role of Cfa Charter holders is a portfolio manager, which is not surprising. One of the most desirable job roles, and then the second comes with research analyst. When you step back and look at this chart, you can see the broad range of jobs served by Cfa Charter holders. And this is because the Cfa program covers a breadth of transferable skills, which can be used in many different jobs and positions. Here you can see the top employers globally for Cfa Charter holders. This includes really all the management firms, insurance company, accounting firms, and big investment bank. Now let's take a closer look at Pakistan. As you can see here, we have over 400 charter holders in the country, and the top employers include all the financial institutions, for example, NBP Fund Management. And to look into further details, this is the data is drawing from Bloomberg based on a sample size of over 500 Cfa charter holders. And you can see 21% of the Cfa charter holders that study in Pakistan are now working in Karachi, and some of them are working in Dubai. And portfolio manager and analyst, aligned with the global trend, is the two very popular job roles among those people having the Cfa designation. For the previous fiscal year, we have over 500, almost 600 new level 1 candidates registered for the exam the first time during December 2019 and June 2020. And here's some senior job roles you can see in the country. More and more often, the Cfa Charter is actually featured in the financial job advertisement, such as this one in the slides, where some of the industry's top employers, like BlackRock, call for the Cfa Charter or for those who progress towards the designation. As this advertisement show you, employers really recognize the Cfa Charter as a reliable way to differentiate the most skilled and qualified job applicants in the market. Okay, let's move on to the new computer-based exam and the enrollment requirement. So with effective on the 3rd of March, we are introducing a new enrollment policy which provide more flexibility and actually accessibility for undergraduate students. So in the past, only final year students can be registered for the final exam and sit for the final exam at the final year. But now with the change of the policy, you can register for the exam before your final year, like during your second to last year, your penultimate year, as long as the exam is within 11 months of your graduation month. And for level 2, in the past, you can only register and sit for level 2 after you already have a bachelor degree. With the new policy, you can now register for level 2 in your final year, right after you pass level 1, and sit for the level 2 exam right after you graduate. So for example, if you're graduating in July, stay back 11 months, the earliest exam window you can sit would be the August exam. And you can now go ahead and register for it as long as this is within 11 months of your graduation. So what is the benefits of doing that? Let's take a look at this example. So this example shows you the earliest possible route for you to finish the charter in slightly less than 2 years. So given that your semester start in late August or early September, and you have your summer break in between, for example, June or July, then you can utilize your summer studying for the exam, sit for the level 1 exam in August, right before your final year start or at the beginning of your final year start. Then for your final year, you can separate your professional development and your academic work. So you can focus on your academic obligation during your final year. And after you sit for the August exam, if you pass it, you will know the result in around 1 to 2 months. It will be a very good addition to your cover letter when you're looking for a job during your final year. Another example would be, like, for example, if you are graduating in December, it's the same concept. Stay back 11 months, the earliest exam you can take would be the February exam. I'll talk about the exam schedule in the later slides. So in a nutshell, it provides you or the candidates earlier possibility to take the exam, better separate your academic obligation with your the professional development, and also add a competitive edge to your CV while you're looking for a job during your final year. Okay, now let's move on to the exam administration. As I talk about the learning ecosystem, which is a modern platform, we also modernize the delivery of the CFA program, moving completely from paper-based testing to computer-based testing in 2021. So level 1 will be available 4 times every year in February, May, August, and November, and level 2 in February and August, and level 3 in May and November. Instead of 1 exam date, we also offer the exam to up to a 10 days exam windows. So it provides more flexibility for our candidates and also provide more flexibility to the institute to adjust to the changing landscape, especially during the COVID time. This flexibility allows us to open additional exam windows and expand the existing window to cover all levels in order to accommodate those who have been impacted by the test center closure or exam cancellations. And the computer-based test center are limited to 26 candidates at any given time. So to ensure social distancing and safety for our candidates. With the computer-based testing, currently the CFA exam are ported in more than 400 locations globally. And every test center will be closely monitor candidates for cheating in any form. So you should have no worries about the security level of the computer-based testing. And writing materials will be provided and candidates are allowed to bring approved calculator to the exam center. So a rough schedule of the exam would be 135 minutes for each section. There will be 30 minutes in the beginning for candidates to familiarize yourself with the settings. And then there will be also a 30 minutes break in between 2 sections. Every test center will look a little bit different, but this is a typical floor plan of a test center. Each test center will have a dedicated reception area, a check-in desk, and of course the dedicated testing room. So we want to make sure that our candidates will be able to finish the exam in a quiet, comfortable environment. So this is online on-screen shot for you to have idea what is the computer-based exam look like. So there will be a tutorial if you need to navigate the platform, and there will be a countdown clock visible throughout the exam. You can navigate backward, forward, and backward pretty easily. And there will be a number on the left showing you how far through the test you have been go through, and there will always be a way to help you flag question which you haven't answered and you want to go back come back earlier to answer a specific question. And the system will also let you know if you have missed out any question before you finish. So this is a screenshot to let you have a general idea what is the computer-based exam look like. Okay, we've talked about the focus of the CFA curriculum of each level. Now let's talk about the exam format. So as we all know, level 1 is all multiple choice question. We have 180 questions with equal weighted point values. And then level 2 consists of item set questions, which are like case scenarios followed by relevant multiple choice question based on the case. And then level 3 will be constructive responses questions like essay, and then half of them will still be item set question. I've also included the pathway here, so you can have an idea what is the average pathway of the 3 levels of the exam. So let's talk about the pricing. There is a one-time enrollment fee of $450 when you first time register for the level 1, and each exam administration has 2 price points. Early registration is $700 and standard registration is $1,000. So these fees already cover the ebook, study planner, practice test, the e-learning, the learning ecosystem, which I mentioned before. All will be provided after the candidates register for the exam. We know it is not a cheap price, so we offer the different types of scholarship for our candidates. Student scholarships are for students in the university affiliation program who have not yet registered for the exam. The scholarship will waive the program fees of the $450, and then the exam registration fees will be reduced to $350. For access scholarship, it is available through local society, CFA Society Pakistan in this case, who may not, for those who may not be able to afford the full program fees. This will waive the program fee, program enrollment fees as usual. The $450 is waived, and then the exam registration fees will be reduced to $250. So you can get full details and learn how to apply for the scholarship on our website. We also offer others role-based scholarship like women scholarships, professor scholarships, which is obviously for women and for professor who's teaching in the institution. You can get more details by going to our website and explore the information. So let's take a look at the exam schedule overview. So now you can see here the bottom of part of this slide show you the schedule of the exam expected to be in place from 2022 onwards. And for 2021, you can see there's a little bit different as this year is a little bit unique. So we are continuing to changing our schedule to meet the candidates' needs. As you can see, the opportunity offered for level 1, there is a July window available. That's outside of the regular schedule we talked about earlier. This window was added just to accommodate level 1 candidates who have been impacted by test center closure and exam cancellation with the challenge we have last year with the COVID. And we expected the usual schedule will be like the bottom one going forward from 2022 onwards. So here is just an example to show you, for example, for the coming summer, we have 2 exam schedule available for students. And you can still register until May and April, but it was, I heard that the July exam capacity is reaching to full capacity. So if you really want to sit for the July exam, you should action now and register as early as you can. If you want to enjoy the early bird prize, you can still register for the November exam. Now the early bird prize is still valid for the November exam. Just one thing to emphasize, with the computer-based testing, you have when you register for the exam, there will be a 2 process. First, you need to register for the exam, of course, and then you will schedule your exam and pick the exam date and schedule your exam at the exam center. So there will be a 2-step processes involved with the new computer-based testing. So I will recommend you now to take out your mobile phone so you can capture this QR code to get to the readiness assessment test provided by the CFA Institute. So to guide you through several questions to evaluate yourself if you're ready for the CFA program. And here's some marketing time. We are doing an Alpha Summit in May, 18th May this year. This is the, every year CFA Institute do an annual conference. But now, because of the situation, we are doing the online conference, which called the Alpha Summit, which allow you to listen to finance professional, the changing industry. So we are offering this student code to students who register to the event at a discounted price of $29 US. So the initial price is $199 US, and now you can register for it at $29. I will recommend you to capture this screenshot and remember the QR code and also the student code when you register at checkout. You can enjoy this discounted price. And now I will pass the time. We will have Q&A session at the end of after all the speakers finish, and I will pass the time to Raza to moderate the career guidance part of this webinar. Thank you, Pasha.
Thank you so much, Florence, for a very comprehensive overview of the CFA program and what it entails. I can already see a few questions, but as you mentioned, we will be able to take them at the end. On behalf of CFA Society Pakistan, who I am representing in the capacity of an elected director, I'm very pleased to be moderating this session. I mean, particularly for students. I mean, I wish I had access to this such material when I was at your age, because you will get to know what sort of job roles are available to CFA charter holders, our members, and you can figure out if this line of work is, if you're suitable for it, and if you have the aptitude for it, or if this excites you. So the purpose of this session, as I've already just said, is to obviously introduce you to some of the job roles that are available to CFA charter holders and CFA candidates. I think Florence, obviously in one of our slides, mentioned that some of these roles would be portfolio managers, research analysts, and so on and so forth. And we have all of these speakers for you today. We have 4 excellent speakers from diverse roles and diverse jobs. This would entail asset management, investment research, commercial banking with a focus on risk management, and of course we have a representative from a multinational as well. And the idea is to obviously break it down in a very simple manner for you, just to take you through some of the key skill sets that you would need, other than, of course, ideally a CFA charter, but what sort of soft skills you might need to excel in these job roles that I just spoke about. And you know, if you have the aptitude for it, and what a day in the life of a you know, of a portfolio manager or a research analyst or a commercial banker looks like. So that's the purpose of this, to water it down for you, and you know, just to give you an introduction of these roles. As I've mentioned earlier, as Florence mentioned earlier, we will be taking questions at the end. But before further ado, without further ado, I'm going to invite our first speaker to maybe start you know, getting ready and preparing his screen. His introduction, this is Mr. Mustafa Pasha. He is the Chief Investment Officer at Lakson Investments. He's a good friend. I think an excellent speaker, very privileged to have him on board with us today. He's got about 15 years of experience in asset management. He completed his undergraduate degree from McGill University in Canada. This is back in 2006. And then obviously at Lakson, he leads the investment process and leads a team of fund managers and analysts who work under him. And he started his career at BMA Capital, and he served as the group economist. So Mustafa, if you're all set and ready, maybe Florence, we can stop sharing this screen, and then Mustafa can put up his screen and take us through his slides. Florence, would it be possible for you to stop sharing your screen so we can have Mustafa put up his slides? Mustafa, if you're ready, I guess we can.
Sure, just give me one second.
Sure. No worries.
I hope everyone can see my screen.
Yep, we can see it. If it goes to full screen, might be a little better, but yeah, we can see it.
Okay, let me try. Okay, sorry guys for the delay. I hope you can see my screen now. Thank you, Raza, for the very generous introduction. My name is Mustafa Pasha. I am the Chief Investment Officer at Lakson Investments. I will try to be brief and not too long-winded, and inshallah give you guys a sort of overview of what my job entails, what a company like Lakson Investments actually does, and you know how the sort of CFA Charter is relevant to what I do and to sort of making your career in this industry, and sort of how it can help you out with regards to your career progression, developing the necessary skill set to progress in the industry. So first of all, just as an introduction, what is an asset management company? An asset manager is essentially what we refer to as the buy side in our industry. And it is involves the management of investment portfolios on behalf of our clients. So I'm sure a lot of you who have signed up for this seminar or conference are aware, perhaps in a more casual way, about mutual funds, hedge funds, the stock market, fixed income markets. So essentially, the asset management companies are involved with managing portfolios, managing mutual funds, and basically investing for their clients, on behalf of their clients, into equities markets, into the fixed income markets. So the asset management space in Pakistan, I think really took off in the last decade or two. And now the local asset management space, the amount of money that is being managed is probably in excess of 1 trillion rupees right now. To get some sort of context about where we are in our sort of development, if you look at, the sort of product slate that asset managers have, or the products that we have in the equity markets or the fixed income markets, I think the important takeaway is that Pakistan is still in its nascent stage of development. So there's a lot of potential, not only for growth in the amount of money that is being managed and invested into these markets, but also in the type of products that are available to investors. In the last few years, we have seen welcome sort of progress with regards to more and more product innovation, whether it is the addition of more asset classes that are for investors, or whether it is other investment products that are available to investors. So examples of asset management companies that do operate in Pakistan, Lakson Investments, of course, which I belong, but you must have heard of and seen other asset management companies, on the media and the radio: Al Mizan Investments, National Bank Investments, UBL Funds, MCB, ABL Asset Management, HBL Asset Management. So most of your big banks do have asset management companies as their subsidiaries, and they are responsible for the managing of investment portfolios. Internationally, some of the larger examples of asset managers include State Street, Vanguard, BlackRock, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs. So this is a very well-established sort of business internationally. And I think in Pakistan, it has taken off and sort of progressed very rapidly in the last decade. But I think there's still a long way to go. So I think for any of you who are now interested in the CFA Charter and are looking to get into the investment management or the asset management space, I think the main takeaway is that this industry is nowhere near its saturation point. There's still a lot of potential for growth. So I think that's one thing that you can sort of take away from it. The main functions within an asset management company, if we look at, we would broadly sort of divide them between the front office and the back office. So the front office essentially would refer to departments and jobs and roles that would be dealing in some shape or form with our clients. So the front office.
Mustafa, sorry to cut you off. I apologize, but I don't think we can see your slides are not moving. And maybe what you were doing originally, that might be okay, because the slides, the size is a bit small and we can't see. And if you're doing this, then you might as well see if you can, because this, I mean, it's not a very large slide. I mean, you have to sort of.
Is it better now?
It's a lot better now.
Okay, so like I was saying, the front office functions generally include your client-facing roles. So that would have your investments team, which normally contains or is comprised of your portfolio managers. Generally, they're asset class specialists. So you would have equity portfolio managers who are specialists in the equity markets. You would have fixed income asset portfolio managers who trade bonds and treasury bills and corporate debt. You would have traders who are responsible for execution as part of the investments team. Then the other aspect would be the research or the due diligence that we do, whether it is assessing the macroeconomic conditions, whether it is assessing individual companies that we invest in. So the research that we do is a very integral part of the asset management business, because our clientele rely on us to make informed investment decisions, to make decisions that are based on different kinds of analysis, whether it's fundamental analysis, whether it's technical analysis, whether it is assessing the credibility of the sponsors of that company, what is the track record of delivering on their projects and on the promises that they make. And then the other aspect of our business, which is very important, is bringing in money. So the investments and research aspect is managing the money that we have. The business development and investor relations is essentially bringing in the money. So that is essentially sales. So this is obviously client facing. So it is their responsibility to obviously raise money on behalf of the asset management company, bring in new clients, bring in new accounts, so that the asset management company can expand its portfolio and expand the AUM base that it manages money for, and essentially grow as a company. The other functions that are generally in asset management companies are what we refer to as back office. So they are more support functions, but they are equally important. And obviously any company can't run without them. These include the risk and compliance function, which is essentially doing the risk management of the portfolios on different metrics. The compliance is basically ensuring that we do not breach the regulatory aspects of our mutual fund investments or our managed account investments. The operations is responsible for the settlement of all of the transactions that we are doing, while our finance department is responsible for calculating the returns and basically ensuring that the reporting that we're doing to our clients about how much money we're making them, what are their returns, where is their asset allocation, where is their money invested, is being done in an accurate way and in compliance with the accounting standards. And lastly, the IT segment, or the IT department, which is very important and is increasingly becoming more important in this day and age, because just like everything else in the world, the asset management industry is also increasingly becoming digitalized, where you have to provide access to people through online platforms and ensure that they have access to your investment products in a very easy online manner. So these are essentially the major functions that are in an asset management company. Now, with regards to the CFA itself, I think most CFA charter holders in Pakistan or even globally, you would generally find them in the front office of asset management companies. So portfolio managers, people who are responsible for investment strategy, research analysts in particular, the analysts who do the due diligence, who do sector analysis, who do macroeconomic analysis, who do company analysis, and also in the risk management function, you will generally find the CFA charter holders. I've given sort of indicative pay scales for different roles within the front office that you can see. So this is the sort of a range for the fixed compensation that you can make in these various roles. Obviously, how much you are making would depend on how much experience you have, and what sort of skill set you bring, and how good you are essentially at your job. So I think with regards to what is the sort of important aspect when you come to this industry, other than the technical skills, and the CFA I think is very good at doing that, both while you are doing the program, providing you the technical skill set, whether it is financial statement analysis, valuation techniques, understanding different asset classes, understanding different investment products, but essentially giving you the sort of fundamental background and the sort of grounding to basically develop your knowledge base about the capital markets and the economy, which you can then apply to the management of portfolios. So those sort of hard technical skills I think are very important, and that's what the CFA essentially gives you. And I think as an asset management company, and I think increasingly you will find this across the industry, whether it's banking, whether it's investment banking, whether it's asset management, investment advisory, that the CFA charter holder is a very valued commodity. And most job listings that perhaps, as graduates, you will see in these industries, in these job roles, they will always give a preference to a CFA charter holder, somebody who is working towards the CFA charter. So it's important that, if you want to get into this industry, the CFA will definitely give you a leg up. With regards to sort of the soft skills that you would require, I think temperament is very important. And basically you have to have a passion for this job. I think one of the main things that is different about the investment management industry is that our job, while there are a lot of elements which, they are repetitive, and obviously you have a role that you do day in and day out, but the main sort of, I think the exciting part of my job, of what I find, is that there is a new challenge every day, every week, every month, every quarter, every year. And that, things keep happening. whether it is changes in the political landscape, whether it is changes in the economic landscape, whether what is happening with international oil prices, what is happening domestically with regards to different sectors, what changes are being made to the regulatory aspects, are the duties being increased, what is the budget doing, what is the state bank doing. There are always so many things happening, whether it is domestically in the economy, within Pakistan, whether it's internationally, that could affect the investment outlook, that could affect the price action, the stock market, the bond markets, and sort of incorporating all those different elements into your analysis, into your judgment about what to do and how to do it, I think is always a very exciting aspect of the job, and it basically keeps things very interesting. Now, with regards to what the traditional, in my role as a chief investment officer, what my day-to-day sort of looks like, it would essentially involve meeting with my team, meeting with senior management, meeting with clients, and essentially trying to figure out what our near-term outlook is, what our longer-term or medium-term outlook is for the economy, for the equity markets, for the bond markets, and then basically figuring out how we are going to respond to the changing environment. What investments will we make, which asset classes which we'll get into, what sectors will we focus on, which companies will we invest in. So basically, talking to my team, talking to the portfolio managers, talking to the research analysts, meeting in the investment committee and formulating an investment strategy to sort of deal with the fast changing environment. And obviously this is a very competitive industry. So you're competing not only with the markets, because you have to deliver a competitive return for your investors over and above the benchmark, but you are also competing with other asset managers. You are competing with your peers. So it is always a interesting sort of environment where you are having to not only outguess the market, but you have to outguess your competition and basically ensure that your clients are always satisfied and that they understand what you are doing and why you are doing it, and that you have a very strong basis and a high conviction for all the decisions that you're making. So I think that's it from my end. I think I've taken up more than the allotted time. I will hand over back to Raza. Thank you very much. And I look forward to any questions that you guys have at the end of this session. Thank you.
Mustafa, thank you so much for that. Comprehensive as always. This is, I think, the second time I'm benefiting from you conducting this session on behalf of the portfolio management profession, and obviously I think it's fantastic as always. So thank you for that. I completely agree with you that portfolio management has sort of come into its own in the last decade or so, and I think this the good thing is there's still so much potential, right? So I think I especially like what you said, that the industry or this profession isn't saturated at all, and so for new people wanting to come into this space, there's a lot of opportunity. Our second speaker for today is Mr. Ameet Doulat. He is the Deputy Head of Research at Universal Brushware Investments. Ameet has more than 8 years of experience working on both the buy side and the sell side. As Mustafa mentioned, the buy side would be the fund management industry, and the sell side would be when you're working for a brokerage firm. And Ameet has excellent experience and both these sides of the profession. So his prior work experience includes stints at KSB Securities, Next Capital, Providers Capital, and currently he's at Universal Brushware Investments. Ameet is obviously one of our valued members at CFA Society Pakistan. In 2013, he in the research challenge that we hold every year, he led IOBM to the runner-up position in the research challenge finals, and I believe earlier this month he also mentored KSBL to be the winner of this year's research challenge. So Ameet, over to you. If you can share your slides, and the floor is all yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Raza, for the generous introduction. Can everyone see my slides?
So we can see your background. We can't.
Okay,
I mean,
great.
you'd have to share your slides. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I'm changing the screen, that's visible, right?
So it just used to. I mean, it used to flicker and then disappear. So we saw it momentarily. At least I saw it momentarily, your slide, but then it disappeared.
Sure. Let me try again.
Sure.
Yes, Ameet,
So
it's
I'm
visible.
hoping my screen is visible now.
Yes, we can see your slide.
Okay, great. Once again, thank you, Raza. Just to give a brief introduction of myself before I begin begin talking about what my work entails and how you guys can benefit from this, and what is the path that you guys should follow if you want come into the investment industry. So like Raza said, I worked on both on the sell side, which is on the brokerage industry as well, which primarily as a research analyst, where the role is to educate investors, initiate reports, research companies, and educate investors about what are the investment opportunities available in the market. And at the sell side, there's a team of analysts that every analyst has a specific sector. So I worked at the fertilizer sector as well, the banking sector as well. So there's a diverse set of individuals that you work with. So you not only cover your own sector, but when you're interacting with people on in your team as well, you get to learn a lot. So I have had that experience in 3-4 years working on the sell side. Then I moved to the buy side, and on the buy side, of course, there's a division in the buy side. So if I move on to my first slide, is that the traditional buy side is of course known as the mutual funds, and on the banking side, where you have these where you used to have the mutual funds where public money was invested, and you had to you can work as a research analyst, as a portfolio manager, uh, as a CFA charter holder, or as a CFA candidate as well. So in the recent times, of course, there's been a change, or there's been an increased focus towards the non-public. I would rather say that the non-public funds, where you have these insurance companies that have grown tremendously, like Jubilee Insurance, EFU Insurance, Adamji, where the public money is invested. It's more of an insurance. The product is an insurance product, but these guys have the funds, and they invest those funds into the equity market, into the fixed income market. And you have the life insurance and the general insurance. Along with it, there's an increased focus on the family offices and the high net worth individuals who have the family money, the Sapphires, the Nishats, the Segals, who have opened up their own family offices by the name of Maple Leaf Capital. Some of the names are Maple Leaf Capital, Shirazi Investments. I was myself at a family office, and I'm currently at a family office as well. But my previous family office was Providence Capital. It was a high net worth individual. So the difference that you witness at a mutual fund and an industry like the life insurance, general insurance, or a family offices, there's more flexibility from a research analyst or a portfolio manager's perspective, rather than a mutual fund. Because like Mustafa also mentioned, that in the mutual fund, you have public money, you have client facing teams that you have to not only protect the money, and according to the investor policy statements of those guys, but you also have to keep on raising money, because there are people that are competing for the same kind of money, the public money. And as research analyst, you are somehow restricted to the specific funds investor policy of certain limitations to equity, of certain limitations to fixed income. On the life insurance, general insurance, and specifically from family office, which is something that I'm working at, is that you have much more flexibility in terms of, you can even go into the concept of leverage, that I'm sure you would learn in your Cfa Charter as well, that the concept of able to people working in the family office as well. Which is something that you miss on the mutual fund side. So in the recent side, the emergence of the life this industry, these are all professional organizations, and the only difference it might be, again, there's no right or wrong here, but it's a different, it's a fresh outlook
Yeah,
I think
Ameet,
I got
sorry.
it.
Yeah, I think we were not getting the best of receptions.
Yeah.
Uh,
Can you hear me now?
yeah, perfect.
Sure. So, like I was saying that with the emergence of these family offices, there's a new career path that has opened for many candidates on the CFA candidates, CFA charter holders, whether they are research analysts or portfolio managers, because this kind of opportunity basically is something that that again, there's no right or wrong here, but it's a different kind of outlook whenever you look at investments. So generally, family offices have a much longer outlook. You can add value in a different set as compared to let's say the mutual funds who are of course competing on a day-to-day basis, on a monthly or a quarterly basis. So that is something that is that is really opened a different field. You have the likes of Providus Capital, Maple Leaf Capital, Shirazi Investments, Universal Investments as well, who really look at investments in a different way. They have certain sense of what they would say. So there's no public money involved, it's the family's money. In some cases it's close to something that and like Mustafa mentioned, that Pakistan's investment industry is at a very nascent stage. So globally we see that there's the concept of hedge funds, which is different from, of course, the mutual funds. Uh, I think with the emergence of these family offices, you would potentially see the emergence of hedge funds in the Pakistan's investment industry as well, and that is something that will be a huge development for people like you guys who will be looking into entering this industry in the next couple of years. In terms of the departments, much similar to what I mentioned, you have the front office, which are the research analysts, portfolio managers who work in combination with each other in terms of doing the research analysis. CFA, of course, provides you the technical elements, like Mustafa mentioned, in terms of the valuation techniques, how to look at companies, and then you have the real life experience of analyzing companies and your own attributes as a research analyst or as a portfolio manager, that you can combine and then make investment decisions, or you can recommend those investment decisions to your sponsor shareholder on how to make investments in the best possible way. In the back office, of course, there's an execution and settlement department, looks at what transactions that you conduct on a daily, on a weekly basis, and whether there are any discrepancies in the transactions. And finance department, of course, like Mustafa also mentioned, it's more towards the return calculation bit. Moving on, like Mustafa also mentioned, that the key areas of focus, of course, research and analysis, in that you have all the approaches that you learn in your university life and also in your CFA examination, all the 3 examinations that you learn, that you have to focus on the economy, you have to do a top down, bottom up approach, build financial models. So that is something, of course, financial modeling is something now I see that there are some universities that are also focusing on financial modeling. The CFA Institute also time and again hold financial modeling sessions. That is something, as research analysts, of course, that really benefits you when you're entering the industry, and that gives you an advantage as compared to someone who does not know how to prepare a financial model. Number 3, portfolio management, of course. Like myself, my designation is more of a research analyst and a portfolio manager together. So I have to look at both the aspects. So extremely important, but he also has to have the position sizing. So
Ameet,
my
we seem to
sincere
have,
apologies. I think
yeah.
my internet is really active.
So
So
we can, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
So, like I
Ameet,
said,
maybe you can switch off your video to save some bandwidth.
sure. So, like I was saying, the portfolio manager has to have a sense of the research part as well, on how the investments work. But the key attributes for a portfolio manager, specifically in a family office or in a hedge fund structure, is you don't have any regulations from the SECP that you generally face at the mutual fund industry of, having sectoral limits, of having company limits. In the family office, you can go 20% in one company, which is something that the mutual funds don't have the liberty to do, and there are even sectoral limits as well. So from a portfolio manager on a family office, on a side or a hedge fund structure, position sizing is very important, and how quickly you can liquidate your investments, and also buy them, build those positions, and also liquidate those investments. And liquidity is, of course, something that is part and parcel of the whole game. Valuations, this is again a combination of how the research analysts think and how the portfolio manager thinks, because there might be a disconnect there, but a portfolio manager has to look at the valuations from a perspective of how different that can be in terms of the research analyst. Because in research, of course, we are somehow limited to the models of FCFF and FCFE of the fundamental valuations, but sometimes the portfolio manager brings in a fresh air of relative valuations as well, which is something that really helps in the investment decision making. Coming to the key skills, like Mustafa also mentioned, that all the technical skills that I mentioned, and the CFA Charter will definitely help you in attaining those technical skills, and the CFA Society as well, in terms of the financial modeling. One of the key aspects that I feel, one of the key skills that are very, very important for you guys as entering into this industry, is the element of critical thinking. Because when you're managing money, of course, money is a very sensitive matter for everyone. So the element of critical thinking, some people are critical thinkers by birth. They have an innate critical thinking element in their personality. But if not, you generally have to develop that personality of critical thinking, because that is really, really important in how to differentiate between the good investments and the bad investments. And that is something that is also developed on the job as well. That's an on-the-job learning as well. Secondly, mental model of investing. So I think it is very, very important that, I'm sure, you also come across people that label stock market, specifically in Pakistan, as a speculative or a gambling's or a gambler's den. But that element is missing, because we generally don't have a mental model of investing. So, you have the concepts of value investing, growth investing. I personally feel that as students, you guys should start reading on that and develop a model of investing that really clicks to your personality, that really clicks to your organization as well. Whether that's the concept of value investing, growth investing, startup investing, whatever. So that, I think, is really important to have as a skill when you enter this industry, and build on that skill. And that is something that I think things is very, very important. So, there are so many books on value investing, on growth investing. You have the likes of Warren Buffett, you have the likes of Monish Pabrai, Howard Marks. So there are so many books that you can read and understand and see what really clicks to your idea of investing. And that is something that you really need to, that really will help you define between a good analyst and an extraordinary analyst. And like Mustafa said, and I can't really put more emphasis on the fact that the temperament is really important, specifically on the portfolio management side. On the left, of course, I've put in two quotes from Warren Buffett's book, The Tao of Warren Buffett. And the most important is, of course, that you really need to keep on reading. One of the elements of success in this industry is that you not only have to read your annual reports or read your coursework that you have in your CFA, but you also have to keep on reading these books, because all what has happened in markets like the US and India technically follows in Pakistan in terms of the economies, because we are probably 10-15 years behind, and like 20-30 years behind all some other economies. Learn from what has happened in these economies, you really have an edge in Pakistan's stock market and Pakistan's investment arena as well. So that is something that you have to be really reading and making your skills develop from the reading perspective. Lastly, like I said,
Ameet, sorry,
sure.
I'm just going to say, in the interest of time, do you think it's? I mean, obviously, we can maybe you take a minute, but maybe obviously we want to close this at 2:20, and we've got 2 other speakers left. So maybe if we can just very quickly go over the slides.
I'll wrap up in the next 30 seconds.
Thank you.
Yeah. So like Mustafa also mentioned, that the salary scales are of course something that are very similar in the investment industry, whether that's a mutual fund industry, whether that's the family office. But one thing is very important, that the entry don't be discouraged with the entry level, because the entry level salaries might not be as high as you would find in some other industries, but the exponential growth that you witness in this industry is something that you miss out in any way, because not only is your basic salary and the salary that you compensation that you receive, but also the money that you earn. And if you learn the idea of investment and you start in becoming an investor, that will really increase payoffs going forward. So I guess that is all from my side, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that come in the Q&A part. Thank you.
Ameet, thank you so much for that. I think next up, maybe we can go with Bilal. I'm told that Bilal has a meeting he can't miss at 2:30. So maybe you're going to skip a speaker. Ali, will come to you at the end then. But Bilal, we'll have you up front. Bilal, I think the thing is, obviously we've spoken to 2 people who work in specialized financial firms, right? And the good thing with Bilal is obviously he works for a multinational. So I think a lot of people have aspirations of working at an MNC. So we're very pleased to have Mohammad Bilal Khan with us. Obviously, he will take over from here. Bilal, over to you.
Thank you so much. Is my screen visible to all?
Yep, you're good.
Great. So I will try to keep it as brief as possible, and in the next 5 minutes, I will try to break a myth. So there is general misperception among the students that CFA is not a relevant qualification or is not very relevant for FMCG industry or the manufacturing industry. And quite a lot of time students come to me asking about its relevance for this particular field. So I will try to give you a perspective on this industry and tell you how it's so relevant. So first, to give you a perspective about the FMCG industry, it is a ₹2 trillion funds worth of industry in Pakistan, which is one of the biggest industries with 200 million clients, growing 11% per annum. So there are huge investments being made into product development, geographical expansion, and distribution landscape. And these investments are expected to continue or sustain for decades in future in Pakistan, considering the population growth, urbanization, middle class expansion, that all which we have. So yeah, there are 2 trillion worth of funds out there to be managed, and for that you obviously need financial analysts. And where do we invest? We invest into everything and anything which you consume, from waking up with a toothpaste to a tea when you go to sleep, to washing your hands, to with a Dove, or to using Surf Excel to wash clothes, or to snacks, or to getting your snacks delivered. So the investments are very diverse, and the investments are very much related to you yourself. So it is kind of what brings interest into the financial analyst role in this industry, is that you are not only looking at the numbers, but you are seeing your investment decisions happening around you and seeing their impact being created around you and impacting the life of you and all others. And a few prominent companies or multinationals in this industry obviously includes Unilever, which is the biggest FMCG, followed by Nestle, P&G, Colgate-Palmolive, and then local companies like National Foods and EBM. So overall, this is the industry size growing in double digits, a large client base to be served, and huge funds to be managed. Now, moving on to what kind of roles do we have for CFA charter holders in this industry? So the interesting fact is that across the value chain of this industry, CFA charter holders are very relevant. So starting with procurement of the materials or commodities, a financial analyst or a CFA charter holder is required for risk hedging using derivatives, for NPV analysis, for commodity forecasting, understanding the economic analysis, how will crude move, how will benzene move, how will the global commodities react, how will the overall economies move. and taking the right decisions, when to buy, how much to buy, what procurement strategy to take, what serves best, what doesn't serve best, how to hedge it using call options, forward contracts, future contracts, bull spreads, bear spreads, and all that. Then moving on, next part is manufacturing, where CFA charter holders are very relevant in financial analyst role, because you need to make business cases for capex investments. You need to perform an NPV analysis to find out whether should we expand or not, should we automate or not, should we invest into vehicles, property, automation, machinery or not. And for that, you do not only do this number exercise, but you also have to find out and get insights into if the future market demand will continue to grow or not, and what will be the future trends. And then obviously in distribution and retail, again, a financial analyst is required to maximize the ROI of all these stakeholders, including your distributors, your retailers, you yourself, your shareholders. And there are huge investments, billions of investments being made into trade channels. And so optimizing those investments and finding out which investment is better, which is not, and how to make a diverse mix of those investments. And then obviously corporate functions like treasury, mergers and acquisitions, category finance, financial planning and analysis. So overall, there are so many diverse roles, and I think all across this value chain and corporate functions, CFA charter holders are very relevant. And I don't only say this, but just to give you an example, so quoting about Unilever, where I work, there are more than 10 people who have passed all these CFA exams, and there are more than 10 CFA exam candidates giving their level 2 and level 3 exams in finance. And then the company has also launched CFA candidates trainee programs, whereby 3 to 4 trainees are hired every year. So this all tells about the relevance which CFA charter holders have for this industry. The key skill set required is good observation, strong analytical skills, innovative mindset, knowledge of micro and macroeconomic trends, financial analysis and valuation techniques, collaboration, and leadership. And these all combined, if you have all of these, and if this is the kind of diverse work which you want to do, then I think that this would be very relevant for you. With respect to pay scale, the starting salary is around 80 to 100,000 per month, which would go up to as much as you go up the ladder. The key point is that there is no limit to how up you can go in your careers, because you can eventually go to another country, you can go to you can get multicultural exposures, you can maybe go into a global role, and you can eventually maybe become a global leader as well for the category. And this is something which we have seen happening over the past and in recent past as well. We have seen people becoming CFOs of these of FMCGs, and then moving and then becoming a CEO of private equity funds. So the kind of exposure you get here and the diversity of exposure, I think it is very exciting. Now moving on to how a day in a financial analyst life in FMCG looks like. So obviously it starts with a cup of tea and a chit chat around the tea station. This is something I think common all around, and this is something without which we cannot actually get into the work. This is our fuel in the morning. And getting into intense discussions, and the most of first half is spent into different meetings, and the discussions are not really about numbers. The discussions are about observations, trends, what is changing, how the consumer is changing, what are opportunities, where to invest, where not to invest. And there are productive debates, there are healthy arguments of how to invest, what should be the strategy, should we expand our business, invest into plant, or will investing into a new product with a higher NPV, or how and what to do. And then obviously lunch, and then the key part is intense financial analysis and valuation. And this is not only a number exercise, it includes scenario planning, risk return assessment, NPV analysis, data analytics, and it is so diverse that it could be anything. Like for example, recently we launched Munchies, which is a new delivery platform. It is a startup which we have incorporated into our company recently. And so all the valuation of this startup, raising the capital for this startup, meeting with the venture capitalists for it. And then again, obviously, automations and capex and capital expenditures into that, and analyzing that and assessing whether that will create value for shareholder or not. And then category partnering, like for example, I myself partner HomeCare category. So finding out there are huge investments, marketing investments being made into the product. So finding out if those marketing investments are beneficial or giving the right NPV and ROI or not, coming up with the alternate or disruptive methods or maybe new methods of calculating ROIs and NPV. And then finding out should we launch a new product line or not, should we get into a new category or not, what should we do, what we should not do, and all that. And not only that, then getting into negotiation and collaboration to ensure that everyone supports the cause and to everyone is aligned with achieving the objective which is decided. And so leading the teams, mobilizing the people, mobilizing the teams, negotiating with the retailers, negotiating with distributors, negotiating with your vendors, negotiating with venture capitalists for investments into your startups, and going into action and decision, and thus creating value for the shareholders and for the organization and maximizing the return on investment for the shareholders. So overall, all in all, I think the exposure is not limited to any one single field of finance or any one single field of knowledge. The exposure really is about economics. The exposure is about using derivatives. The exposure is about performing NPV analysis. The exposure is to dealing with people, leading people. The exposure is about learning about new products, new trends, and all that. So this about the industry and about a day in the industry and about the key skills which are required in the industry as such. So thank you so much. I hope that's clear.
Thank you so much, Bilal. I think I wanted to, obviously in the interest of time, maybe interrupt, but I thought this slide was so interesting that it merited students benefiting from it. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
And we're going to turn to our fourth and last speaker for today. This is Ali Muqadas Jaffri. He will talk to you from the perspective of a commercial banker with a concentration in risk. And I think the thing is, obviously, there are two things. I mean, Bilal busted the myth that you have to work for a dedicated financial services firm. That's not the case. You can work at an MNC as well, such as Unilever in Bilal's case. And I think for Ali's case, I think obviously all three speakers so far have been Karachi based, and Ali, if I'm not mistaken, is Lahore based. So I think it'll be good to hear about his perspectives as well and about the job markets and opportunities available for Cfa Charter holders in not just Karachi but also in other cities. So Ali, over to you.
Can you hear me?
Ali, we can hear you, but your screen is, I mean, obviously I saw the slides momentarily, but then they disappeared. So we can hear you though.
Let me share it again.
Sure.
Now
Yeah,
visible?
You're good. You're good. Yes.
So I would like to make it quick within the stipulated time of 8 minutes. So I will start with, I would like to thank CF Institute for the opportunity to give my insight regarding the banking sector in Pakistan, which is one of the most regulated and largest sector of the economy. So I would start off with the overall, the structure of the banking that is being in Pakistan. So we have a central bank, that's State Bank of Pakistan. Then we have conventional banks, the big 5 players of National Bank, HBL, MCB, Allied Bank and UBL. Then we have Islamic banks, Mizan, Dubai Islamic, Al Baraka, and microfinance banks. Then we have overseas banks, ICBC, Standard Chartered Bank and Bank of China. Then we have investment banks. So basically these are the major kind of banks we have in Pakistan, and that is being the target market of the CFA candidates and CFA charter holders. Next, I would like to show the different departments that are in the banking sector. There are 2 kind of offices in banking sector, the front office and the back office. Can you see my slides?
Yes, you can see them.
So as far as front office is concerned, we have corporate banking, then investment banking, then treasury and capital markets and commercial banking. Capital markets fall under the umbrella of corporate banking, most of the institutions, but in some banks, there's a separate division for that. Then we have back office, the risk management, in which one I am currently working. Then there is treasury operations, audit and risk review, and finance. So the opportunities the CFA candidate charter holders currently have after going through the rigorous curriculum of level 1, level 2, and level 3. So in the corporate banking, you can go for a position of relationship associate and manager. In investment banking and syndicate financing, you can opt for investment analyst. In capital markets, which is a lucrative when compared to other departments of the banking, you can go as a research analyst. And risk management, you can opt for as either credit risk portfolio or market risk. But this is the back office of the treasury, front office, and capital markets. And then you can finally opt for treasury, which is very lucrative when it comes to the other conservative departments in our banking industry. So as far as the remuneration and growth is concerned, the international professionals are paid around 45 to 55K. Professionals who complete their CFA journey while working in the banks are usually reimbursed their CFA exam fee. This is an, you can say, a good initiative by the banks for the candidates who are doing their CFA while working. Career progression is slow as compared to other FIs like AMCs and brokerage houses. But once you have worked in different departments like risk management, treasury, and corporate banking, you can always opt for overseas opportunities like multilateral banks. You can go for IFC, you can go for World Bank, you can go to Asian Development Bank, and you could go for banks in Middle East like Riyadh Bank and Commercial Bank of Dubai. So this is a brief introduction of the banks from the time allocated. So I will like Raza to take over now.
No, perfect. I mean, Bilal, if you want to speak for another minute or so, that should be fine. But if that's the end of it, that's not a problem. We can switch into Q&A mode. So I will moderate. Obviously, first up, thank you for everybody's patience and sticking around till the end of the session. I hope this was useful. I believe there were a few initial questions on the CFA program that some of them were handled in the chat box itself. But Florence, if there are any questions that you came across, and would like to address them here, I guess you can. I think there was one on how often can you give it, how often can you give the exam if you haven't, if you don't pass it. There was one there. There's a lot of interest in knowing about the scholarships. By the way, in Pakistan, I think this year more than 200 scholarships were given by the CFA Institute. So maybe a little bit more color there would be very useful. Florence, over to you
okay, sure.
If you're there.
I guess some of the questions regarding computer-based testing are already covered in. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear
okay.
you.
Okay, so some of the questions regarding the computer-based testing are already answered to individual. But in terms of the exam itself, if you pass, if you fail the level, you can register the next window for the next window. However, if you pass level 1 and you want to go on to level 2, you have to wait at least 6 months. For example, if you pass level 1 in May, you cannot go directly and register for the August one. You need to wait for at least 6 months for the level 2. We want to make sure that you know the result and then you have enough time for the preparation. And regarding scholarship, I believe SS scholarship are managed by the society. So I have no comments about that. But for student scholarship, as
already shared a link on this SS scholarship. And for student scholarship, we have a few affiliated universities in Pakistan. Those affiliated universities will be able to offer scholarship. And for all the students in those universities, you can always go to our website to find out if your university is affiliated, and then go to the scholarship page, find student scholarship, and then you will be able to apply for the scholarship on our platform. So yeah, I hope that answered the question on scholarship.
Thank you, Florence. Just to add to that, of course, I mean, if you are one of our affiliated universities, there are some scholarships that are allocated to your university. So you can approach your universities and ask them about it. There are dedicated scholarships for women as well. And then, of course, the Access Scholarship. The other question that we have, and Ali, this is for you. This is, obviously for people wanting to work in a bank or banking employers, what do they look for in terms of qualities, apart from maybe the charter, of course, if you would like to take that question.
So basically, the banking sector are usually employing the business graduates from different business schools. So the basic requirement, if you are going for an MT program in a bank, so you need a basic undergraduate degree or a graduate degree in a business or economics. That's what banking sector is looking for.
And anything in terms of soft skills, anything in terms of soft skills? I mean, obviously that's the education part of it, but
one thing I'd like to mention that in banking sector, the growth is quite slow as compared to other financial institutions. So the one thing you should have in you instinctively would be patience.
Got it. Mustafa, if you're still there, thank you for the patience. There is a question that, if the calculations are done by the finance department and the research department does all the legwork, what does the portfolio manager do? So do you want to defend yourself here, Mustafa? Mustafa, I'm not sure if you're still there. I mean, I know we're in the middle of the trading day, so I'm not sure if you heard this. Ameet, if you want to step in, obviously you've sort of worked with portfolio managers. I've always worked on the brokerage side, but Ameet, if you're there, maybe you want to take this one on behalf of Mustafa.
Sorry, Raza, I couldn't hear you for a second. If you have a question for me, I'd be glad to answer.
Yes. The question is that, if the finance department is doing all the calculations and the research department is doing the legwork on the macro and micro factors, what is it that you do as a portfolio manager? So you want to take this one? Yeah, it's a funny one.
My job is relatively easy now that I've been around for 15 years. So I just talk to my team and they do most of the work. So I'm quite privileged. But essentially, the job of a portfolio manager is essentially to come up with a strategy, right? So it's essentially more of a analytical role in that sense, right? It's not so much about, even though execution, and especially in the regulated side of things, when we're managing public money in mutual funds and these regulated funds, there is a lot of documentation, there is a lot of back and forth with the SECP and the SCDC, creating documentation for your clients, etc., making sure your compliance is in line with the regulation. So there's a lot of sort of ancillary work that is part of portfolio management, day-to-day portfolio management, but your core function is essentially analytical. Basically, it is your job to assess the markets, is to see what the competition is doing, which way the market is going, and basically bring your skill set, use your skill set to basically bring in, conduct an analysis of where you think the markets are going, and then help the investment committee to make decisions on asset allocation, on sector allocation, on equity exposure levels, cash, which asset classes we're going to, what rotation we're doing. And basically sort of coordinate between the research analysts who are looking more on a company or stock level, and basically use your skills to basically use that feedback or the analysis that you get and combine it with your overall sort of macro view on the economy, and then basically come up with a strategy, right? So it's basically more about having a strategy and coming up with that. The execution aspect obviously is more our traders will do the actual buying and selling. The settlement will do the actual movement of the money back and forth from the accounts. the finance will actually calculate what return was generated. This is more of a thinking role, basically figuring out what to do. Once you figure out what to do, executing it is then the rest of the team's job.
No, I think, and let me just add to that. I mean, obviously, you're the one left holding the cake, right? I mean, so you're left holding. I mean, obviously, it's your performance then, obviously. So it's how you manage the team is being reflected in at the end of the day in your performance, and you will be judged on that. So that's the pressure of the job is a different level for you. The other questions I have, I mean, these are obviously a bit linked. I mean, is the CFA program giving you core knowledge about capital markets, and can the CFA be used in deals advisory and transaction investment banking? And maybe I can take this question. Obviously, I mean, as we've gone ahead and seen in this session, when you're talking of the stock market, when you're talking of the fixed income market, when these are all examples or part of capital markets. So, and as we've seen and as we've seen from our speakers and the profiles of our of the jobs that CFA charter holders have, they're obviously an integral part of capital markets, and obviously the charter holder will have an edge when it comes to working in the capital markets. That's my personal experience as well. And of course, investment banking is a big part of capital markets. And so not just investment banking, private equity, venture capital, all of those areas would need the skill set that the CFA charter imparts onto you. So I have obviously I hope I've answered these two questions. Other than that, I mean, obviously, I think I'm not sure if there are more questions on the jobs themselves. Right, Ameet, is there, maybe you can take this one. I'm not sure if there is a difference, but do you think there is a difference between a research analyst and a financial analyst, or are these interchangeable terms?
So I personally think there's not much of a difference. The designation might change. So when anyone is hired in an MNC or in a company like let's say Engrocorp, or who have these investment divisions or who have these strategy teams, they generally have the designation of a financial analyst or a business analyst. But at the end of the day, the job is very similar. On the research analyst, I think it's more of a term for the investment industry, but I personally think that the job nature it's quite similar. These terms can be used interchangeably, to be very honest.
That it. Florence, there is a question on work experience. You mentioned on your slide about 4,000 hours. Does that equate to what, 3 years now? Is that what it is now?
Yeah, 4,000 hours over 3 years. If you have a calculation count of if you work 8 hours per day, 1 year is around 2,000 working hours. So 4,000 over 3 years of time should be enough for you. I mean, 3 years to be enough for you to accumulate 4,000 relevant working hours experience. Yeah.
Right, and obviously people there's also a question on what subjects or skills do they, or maybe what do they need to have in terms of the university education to sit for level 1. My sense is obviously if you're in a good business program, you should be equipped to sit for the level 1 exam. But if there's anything you'd like to add, Florence, that could guide the students.
I would emphasize that, like you said, if you have a business degree, it will be set you easier if you have to sit for level 1. But it's actually offered to anyone who meet the enrollment requirement. And we always emphasize the CFA program is a self-learn program, so everything will be from the curriculum. There's increasingly more and more students from different backgrounds, like engineering, mathematics, or even in social science, they enroll in the program. So really, it depends on your preference or how you want to be future, if you really want to in the finance field. And your degree will help you, obviously, when you prepare for level 1, but it's not necessary a must to have a business related degree to sit for level 1. Yeah.
Thank you, Florence. I think maybe we can take one final question. And Bilal, I'm not sure if you're still there because I understand you had a meeting, but people are asking, how can the CFA, you're there? Okay, excellent. People are asking, in FMCGs, particularly the supply chain function, is the CFA education helpful there?
Yeah, I think it's very relevant. And I will give you my perspective on it and will share a start over it as well. So supply chain basically starts from procuring materials or commodities and then goes on to delivering it to the distributors. So when you procure materials or commodities, a key role there is to be able to forecast commodities, to be able to understand the commodity changes. Let it be crude, let it be anything. So for example, in my role, crude is very important. If I cannot forecast crude, then I cannot do my job well. So that's how it is important in at procuring materials. Also, then you need to hedge your commodity costs by getting into call options, bull spread, bear spread, and forward futures. And just to give you an example, just recently we start of this year we took a bull spread on the crude, and so all those discussions that go into it, all that analysis and the decision making at global level and supporting that decision. So obviously CFA knowledge really helps there, because it tells you how to use derivatives and how to use that to create value. Then for manufacturing, which is again a part of supply chain, for capital expenditure investment, you need a CFA kind of knowledge to be able to assess the decisions that whether to invest or not to invest, to perform NPV analysis, IRR analysis, and all that. And then again, during the distributions, you need to assess the value of different routes which you keep. So I think it's very relevant for specifically for supply chain function as well. And obviously there are then multiple other functions as well, including the key roles like mergers and acquisitions as well. So just talking about only the Unilever Pakistan, recently we launched a startup Munchies and raised investment for that. So that's a kind of, you can say, kind of an M&A. And then we recently divested globally our spreads business, which was again a divestiture and again an M&A transaction. Then we are now we recently performed a strategic review of our beverage business, which is again a part of something related to probably M&A and strategic analysis. So yeah, very relevant. And also I would like to, if I will take the liberty of taking another question, which is from Amara. That what are the opportunities available in Karachi for women who want to join industry after a long break? So not sure about the other industries, but in FMCG, quite a few companies have programs especially designed for women who have taken a long break. And even within Unilever, because I work here, so I know there is a program for such women, and we have such women working. And even in finance, we have such women working with us, who either took a long career break or who are working moms, and so they work part-time. So yeah, there are opportunities available. Hope that answered the question. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad you took that that question. So thank you for that. Look, I mean, we are getting more questions, but obviously in the interest of time, we might have to, I mean, obviously we're 5 minutes over, so I might have to close the session. Florence, if there are any last comments from your side, would be pleased to maybe have you say a few words, and then we can head towards close.
Yeah, thanks, Raza, and thank you everyone for joining. And really thanks for all the question and all the sharing from the speakers and answering the question from the students. I think students really engaging and asking a lot of questions. One last question I would like to answer, because I see a few coming up about the exam new enrollment about 11 months before graduation requirement. So the idea is that if you are graduating in December, or you just stay back 11 months, then you can take the exam as long as this is 11 months. For example, if you're graduating in November, then the earliest exam you can take will be the December exam. But because we don't have a December exam, then you will need to wait until February. And when the February exam registration open, even you are not in final year yet, you're in your second to last year, you can already start the registration. So that's the whole idea of the 11-month policy. I hope that answered the question, several questions in the chat box. Otherwise, I'm good, and thank you everyone, and thanks for having me here.
Thank you, Florence. Thank you to all our speakers, Mustafa, Ameet, Ali, and Bilal. I think this was excellent for the students. And if there are any follow-up questions, I'm sure they can reach out to CFA Institute or CFA Society Pakistan via email. I believe the slides, this presentation is being recorded, and people can revisit it later as well. So with that, thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining. Take care and have a lovely day.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all.